Hey, it's Mike Reid here, and what you're watching is a condensed version of some of the best bits of our masterclasses, web classes, and events that we host running one of the world's leading accelerators for traditional service companies. And my assumption is that you're here because you're probably really good at what you do, but you might be finding it's harder and harder to stand out, to scale up, to actually build a business that gives you the profit and the lifestyle and the freedom that you hoped it would in the first place. And so over the last 10 years, we've worked with 3,500 founders to help them do just that, right? To help them build a business that actually gives them the things they want. And so we bring together some amazing men and women for them to work with. We bring together dragons from Dragon's Den and sharks from Shark Tank to teach them how to pitch. We bring in 4 times best-selling authors to show them what to publish. And we bring in LinkedIn top voices in entrepreneurship to teach them about how to build a profile online. And so this video is a snippet, a condensed version of some of those masterclasses and web classes. And I want to give you a sneak peek of what it's like on the other side. I hope you enjoy it. What we've also learned is the entrepreneur journey is a lot more predictable than most people think. And so every business begins in startup and hopes, dreams, and enthusiasm. You know, as you go from starting a business to growing a business, you kind of very quickly realize it's a lot harder than expected it to be. You hit this sort of first phase of business we call the wilderness, which is figuring it out. So it's really figuring out who are we, what do we stand for, how do we communicate it, how do we acquire clients consistently and repeatedly over time. And then if you can build a small team and you can, get past that initial kind of 100,000 in revenue and then get up to more like, $500,000 in revenue, you move into this phase we call a lifestyle boutique. You've got $500,000 to a few million in revenue. You've got a small team positioned as unique and different in the market, attracting premium clients, better quality opportunity, great little small culture within that small dynamic team, and really fun, enjoyable, profitable lifestyle business for the founder. After about 12 people, things get more complex. You need different systems and new technology and processes, and all the simplicity that you had at that kind of small boutique level starts to break down under the weight of complexity of more people as you grow and scale. That's a costly phase of business. A lot of businesses need to raise capital. They need extra funding. They never have any cash. It's just a difficult phase of growth. But if you can move through that to a bigger, more stable business, maybe 30, 40 or more people on the team, you're what we call a performance business. You're no longer a small little boutique. You're a bigger, higher performance business. All the strategies that work to get to a boutique don't really work or continue to work to get to performance. You need different strategies and different focuses. But at the performance level, that's where you're attractive for maybe even acquisition. A bigger company comes along and sees you and they could fit you into their portfolio, and you can have that kind of like life-changing type of an exit. Whereas the lifestyle boutique's more about giving you the financial freedom and freedom within your business to day-to-day and operationally have a great business, enjoy your business. You're still there at the helm. You've got a team around you supporting you doing the functional so you can elevate to stay vital. But it's not gonna get you the big multi 7-figure exit type of a thing. That's pretty rare. Here's what we're going to do. And so I asked you before, what's working, what's kind of not working in your business right now? You gave me a bit of a score of 0 to 10. I'm going to assume that you've probably maybe recognized some things might need improving. We could do a bit more to make the car go faster. My experience tells me the biggest challenges that most of you on the call are probably experiencing is stuff around, slow growth, feeling a bit underpaid, under-recognized, overworked, chasing business, selling time, feeling frustrated ambition. Here's the key things that I think we need to improve. Things like your conversion rate. How many of all the prospects that you speak to, how many of those are turning into a client? If you can go from a 1 in 10 to a 3, 4, 5 in 10, oh my God, like what an incredible difference that one metric can make. Things like price, to what degree are people willing to pay a premium or more for what you do based on your ability to communicate the value more powerfully? How long does it take you to go from, someone who's expressed some interest to making the sale? If that goes from 6 weeks to 3 weeks, that money in the door, cash in the door makes an incredible difference to your ability to continue to grow and market and scale the business. Are you out there chasing and hunting all the time, or are some of those leads coming inbound? How warm and primed are they to what you do? Your time, profit, happiness, all these kind of things, right? What I've noticed is that if we look at income distribution in any industry, most income is kind of distributed based on this curve. What you'll see there is that the vast majority of income in any industry, it's in the head of the curve, but most people are in the tail. And so there's a very small number of people that are earning the majority of the revenue and the opportunity. And this is true in any industry, but especially big business. Big business earns most of the money in the economy, and they also earn most of the profit. In small business, we've got this really little kind of zone where we can kind of up our chances of being highly paid. And what we've noticed is that, you can be really good at what you do here. But if not enough people know about you, if you're still pretty invisible in the market, then being great at what you do, happy clients, doesn't cut the mustard for getting you highly paid. What does help is more attention from the market, ergo more influence, leveraging the right media, and using technology to help you improve your speed to scale. Every business is fundamentally made up of 3 core functions: sales, marketing, admin, technical delivery. And if we want to go from slow growth, underpaid, a little bit overworked, to much faster growth, increasing prices, less owner reliance, more inbound opportunity, there's a bridge we need to make, right, between here to there. And the bridge is there needs to be someone stepping into the role of being the evangelist for the business. Their primary function is not to get caught in the functional doing of sales, marketing, technical delivery, operations, etc. Their job is to espouse the vision, the values, and the value proposition of what it is they do. Take someone like Steve Jobs. His role was chief evangelist, to evangelize the principles and the ideals and the, what made Apple different from others and unique, etc. Yeah, of course, he was involved in every element of the product and the design and that kind of thing. But the reason, Apple is what it is today is because of, the chief evangelist type of role. All of these entrepreneurs and thought leaders, all they've really understood, ladies and gents, is they've understood that attention is a primary growth factor. If you can drive more attention to your brand and to what you do through the content, the messaging, what you're talking about, the people you're associated with, aligned to, you can use that attention, you can convert that attention into customers with the right product architecture. And you can use those customers and that revenue to buy more attention. In actuality, attention is this really invisible and important growth factor. We need attention on our business. If you're good at what you do, we need enough attention so we can generate revenue to then invest in and buy more attention, marketing, advertising, etc. And then that fuels an upward cycle of growth. But if we can't get enough attention in the first place, we're kind of dead in the water from the very beginning. My hypothesis, my case I want to make to you today is that of all things you could focus on, my belief is the singular focus you should have is the fastest way to create a breakthrough in your business is to focus on how do we show up as that go-to brand, that far more visible go-to person within our industry. There's a very noisy marketplace in your market. What most people are struggling to do, most of your audience are really struggling to do, is they're struggling to separate what's signal versus what's noise. Who are the credible people? Who are the go-to people? Who are just the same as everybody else? Sometimes it can be hard to decipher between those two. And because there's so much volume of messages and people out there, what often we do is we just tune out the vast majority of stuff. We're just tuning it out, and it takes a lot to separate signal from noise. What we actually need to do is we need to get clear on what is the vital essence of what separates your ideas and your approach from others. And how do we capture that into some simple language and messaging and phrases that does separate, how you show up compared to others, right? Going from vital or functional to vital. Clarissa here is a family lawyer, right? One of our clients in Australia, and she runs a law practice. It's called Brisbane Family Law Centre. And the way she previously pitched her business is she would say, we're a family law practice. We help families navigate the complexities of separation. It sounds like a reasonable pitch, but when we actually decode it, we go, well, actually, it's pretty drill bit. It's actually really focused on what she does. We help families navigate separation. As opposed to, what are a market trying to get done? What do they want? Do they want to navigate the complexities of separation? And what she realized was actually what they really want is they want to separate, they want to stay out of court, and they want to stay friends. That is actually the highly desirable fantasy destination of where they want to get to. When you think about it, most lawyers, most family law practices they're not espousing that kind of a message. It's typically quite litigious. There is a fight on everyone's hands to get what's rightfully each party's in terms of assets and custody and kids, and all this kind of tension and all this bitterness is what typically comes out in most divorces. So she started to kind of sing a bit of a different tune. She ended up positioning her whole personal brand as the happy family lawyer. It's like, you know what? Divorce does not have to be this really horrible end to a relationship. It actually can be a really positive end to a relationship when navigated and approached in the right way. She ended up talking about these ideas. All of a sudden, media were much more interested in talking to her compared to another lawyer because she's singing quite a different tune. She wrote a book called Splitsville through our process. Splitsville represents that destination. It is the kind of utopian place that couples can get to with the right system and structure and process. They can go from bitter, horrible end to the relationship to a really positive end to the relationship, separate, stay out of court, and stay friends. What Clarissa had done well, and what many of our clients really understand through this journey, is that what we're in the business of is we're a destination business. We are in the business of getting our clients to a particular outcome, some end state. And what they've done is they've defined that destination into something they can uniquely own as theirs. They can put their stamp on it in the sphere of the business world and go, we're known for helping move our clients to a place called Splitsville, which means they can separate, they can stay out of court, and they can stay friends. And the more that Clarissa goes out there and talks about it, she features on podcasts, she's on radio, she blogs about it. She's talking about these ideas, right? All the weaving the narrative and the tapestry of, you know what, like divorce doesn't have to be bad. It can actually be good. You can separate, you can stay out of court, and you can stay friends. Let me show you how. Right? Nike delivers lightweight, high grip, flexible shoes, but that's not the real differentiator. The real differentiator is the Air Jordans. You know, it's like stepping into the shoes of your own hero of sport. Separate, stay out of court, stay friends. Yeah, other lawyers can talk about that. Splitsville is the real differentiator. Visible, valuable, connected for what we do, but becoming a key person of influence, that's the thing that we can own. There can be some ownership over that idea. Brad Beer runs a physiotherapy practice. He helps his clients run pain-free. Wrote the book called You Can Run Pain-Free. Howard Tinker is a restaurant marketer. He helps restaurateurs put more bums on seats. Harvey Penny is an accounting firm, but they don't do tax and accounting. What they really do is they help businesses become cashed up. So can you see in these examples that what these founders have done well is they've captured an essence of the desired outcome, and then they've started to create the content ecosystem that builds the authority around that outcome. What they do, which is the mechanism, that's the drill bit, that's the service they can provide that gets someone to that result and that outcome, but they're not leading with the service. They're not leading with, here's what we can do for you. They're leading with, here's what it means to be a cashed up business. Let me explain all about that so you can understand whether or not that's a result that you want. If it is, great, we've got a mechanism that can help get you there. You know, little tools that we introduce our clients to, we call this idea the buying belief. Like, what is that central buying belief that your market must have in order for them to see you as the kind of the primary way, like the only way they should be following to get to the result they're looking for? And so just imagine it like this, like they're on a path right now. They're kind of fumbling through their journey, trying to figure out how do we get to the result we're looking for. Along comes you, like idea inception, introducing a different or a new idea, right? It's like, you know what? I know you're thinking this way, but let me see if I can introduce you to a different idea, a different way of thinking. And if you can do that effectively and powerfully, you can take them onto a different trajectory, going from off to the same results everyone else is getting to a much better outcome. At that point in time, right, if you've been able to inseminate an idea, like an idea virus into their head where it's like, now I see that this pathway is far superior than the other one I was trying to go down, that is the time to introduce a product or a service. The great irony is that most businesses are out there talking about what they do, but really what you should be talking about are the ideas that underpin and sell what you do. Not the products or the services, not anything about the what of what you do, but the why of like, why does this make sense in the first place? And if we can get those ideas out into really great thought leadership, then the product or service will start selling itself. So take someone like Simon Sinek, really done this incredibly well. We've all seen the Start With Why TED Talk and whatever else, but we didn't hear about Simon's leadership coaching or training or any of that sort of stuff before we heard about the concept of Start With Why. Now, he's got a whole army of people who are out there coaching and consulting with people on creating their why and doing this into companies and groups and all sorts of things around the world. But we heard about it through the idea, the spreading of the idea in the first place. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is, if you can get really good at starting to unpack, how do we unpack our communication and our ideas into really compelling thought leadership and a narrative that builds a lot of authority around those ideas, gets people to spread those ideas. They start talking about it, whether or not you're in the room, and like a virus, that idea goes out and implants itself into people's minds. Then your products and services will just naturally follow. But don't lead with this, lead with the idea. So Clarissa, she was changing the narrative from couples putting themselves first in the divorce to introduces the idea of Splitsville. They start going, okay, we got to reprioritize. We got to really put the kids first. That's got to be our new way of thinking. When she does that, she makes the competition far less relevant. We want to escape the time trap. And so this comes down to avoiding trading time for money. One of our maxims with our clients, all stress, frustration, and bottlenecks can be traced back to some kind of an asset deficiency. What do you think I mean by an asset deficiency? All stress, struggle, frustrations can be traced back to some kind of an asset deficiency. So Michelle, dollars, money is not so much an asset. Money is an effect of an underlying cause. Maybe an asset helps to produce money. What an asset is really it's anything that helps you achieve a result or an outcome in your business a lot better, faster, cheaper. So rather than, you as a human do things just repeatedly over and over again, we want to ask the question, whatever problem you're experiencing, if it's a time problem, or if it's I'm doing something repeatedly problem, or I'm not generating enough qualified leads on a regular enough basis, the question we're asking is, what's the missing asset? Because human sweat is a generally kind of like pretty inefficient, expensive way to deliver value. There's some things that you absolutely need to do in your business, but there's other things that a well-produced asset would probably do even better, and it would be far more scalable. If you're not generating enough inbound leads, we want to ask, how do we upgrade? How do we go from the axe to the chainsaw? Rather than having a salesperson out there talking to people cold, or you going and doing that business development to a cold audience, instead, how do we take all the ideas that we want to package to prime a cold person to move them from cold to warm? How do we package that into a really authority building, credible asset like a book? What this concept is really saying is that if you want to generate more income in your business, like if you wanted to generate more income from a house, you can't generate more income from a one-bedroom house just by rearranging the furniture and giving the walls a paint on the inside. That doesn't make a big difference. What does make a difference is if you can add a bedroom, or if you can do an extension, add a few bedrooms on top, it gets a certain amount of rent to something that will get dramatically more rent. The common thinking is that if we just do enough sales and marketing, that's the thing that's going to generate more revenue. But using this example, you could have the best sales and marketing team in the area, in the country, marketing your one-bedroom unit, but it's never going to get a 5-bedroom rent. Whereas if you had a shitty 5-bedroom that had the worst marketing campaign in the world, it's still going to get more rent than the other one. It's just the simple little concept that in your business, what really drives valuation and value is asset creation. What you want to become over time is an asset-driven enterprise. Like what's going to give you more scalability, repeatability, and allow a team to go off and kind of run the thing without you is the concept and the creation of a continual creation of assets. So when it comes to product, we're looking at what are the 4 missing things that most businesses need. It's like they need more attention, they need more trust, they need more revenue, or they need more recurring profit. So we want to build some product assets in each of those areas. Big companies like BMW understand this idea of an ecosystem, which is if we sell the car, it's pretty expensive and like hard to sell a car to someone who's not really that well primed about BMW and why having a high performance vehicle makes sense for them. So we need to create enough ways for people to build the relationship and the rapport and the relationship with the brand so that one day if they are ready to buy a high performance vehicle, they're looking to BMW to do it. However, the amount of money and time invested in acquiring the sale is actually really high. There's the showrooms and the salespeople and all this kind of thing. They don't make as much profit on the car as you might think. Where they really make their profit is in selling the financing, and it's the servicing to actually service the thing thereafter. So interestingly, the servicing and the financing never would have been an option if they hadn't sold the car. But they wouldn't have been able to sell the car if they didn't have the books and the show nights and the videos online and all that kind of jazz. The videos online aren't going to make any money in the same way that that can't be funded without the sale of the car in the first place. So there is always a symbiosis in your ecosystem. The key idea here is that products alone don't make money. It's the product ecosystem that makes money. So some things in your business you're going to give away for free, and it's going to have a higher investment of time, energy, and effort. And in isolation, doesn't make sense for you to do it. But in a bigger ecosystem, it absolutely makes sense. In isolation, me sitting here talking to you lovely, amazing human beings from the internet doesn't make sense unless it's part of a bigger ecosystem. Or us giving away a free copy of the Key Person of Influence book, we tend to give away like it's going out of fashion. Me spending $10 to send you a book in the post makes no sense in isolation. But within the context of a bigger ecosystem, it absolutely makes a lot of sense. We get the most powerful search engine on the planet from Google, which in and of itself, you wonder, how do they make money? But of course, the search engine is the means, the mechanism that allows them to make money in other areas of the business. So, when people ask me, like, what's the right product or service to create? And I go, well, sometimes it's not so much about the product or service. It's really about what's the ecosystem look like. Whether it's, we've got a client who runs in a natural health clinic through to, our ecosystem, you'll start to see that the power gets created in the ecosystem. The final distinction I'll make about this is, there's a lot of talk about sales and marketing and funnels and these kind of things. I don't want you to look at this as a funnel. I mean, frankly, this is not the best way to talk about serving your clients and serving your market in the first place anyway. But what you really want to think about is how do we create standalone value at each stage of our product ecosystem, in that if someone decided to opt out at one phase, like someone just got a copy of the Key Person of Influence book, but they read it and it's like, wow, this is really impactful. This has actually powerfully changed how I approach my industry. I ended up writing a book as a result of reading this book, went on to become a best-selling author. Therefore, the ideas and the way it's been packaged and designed and presented is standalone valuable in and of itself. When I go to get a phone from Apple, whether or not I have a PC or I've got just the phone on its own, is hugely valuable, right? I don't need to have a MacBook to make this a really valuable and remarkable product. But when it works together in the ecosystem with the MacBook and the iPad and all talking to each other in the iCloud with the watch, etc., that is the full kit and caboodle. I'm now a core customer of Apple. Up until that point, I'm really just a prospect. It's like he's got a phone, but he hasn't got the full suite. He's a prospect until he does. But I could stop at the phone and still rave about Apple. I could be out there talking about it. I could be out there going, best phone you could possibly buy, et cetera, et cetera. In your own business, what we want to think about is how do we create standalone unique value in each layer of your ecosystem as a service business so that, if someone went through and did a digital scorecard, or they happen to read a copy of your book, or they watched the TED Talk, that in and of itself, they'd be out there talking about you, evangelizing, raving about it, spreading the ideas. And if we can do that product design component well, and you invest in the assets around building that stuff, that's what builds you a valuable, repeatable, more stable, powerful business over time. Okay, so what do you think? Hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight into what it could be like being mentored by some of North America's leading entrepreneurs. If you're a traditional service business owner, and my assumption is you're probably really good at what you do. You've been around the block, it's not your first rodeo. However, you might be finding it is harder and harder to stand out in your industry, to differentiate, to really cut through the noise and ultimately scale up. Now, if that's the case, then I'd love to make an invitation. And the invitation is actually really valuable and really simple and easy. We have a process we call the KPI diagnostic. In essentially 10 minutes over the phone with one of our advisors, we take you through a structure to better understand where you're at in business, where you want to go, but most importantly, what are the missing assets that are preventing you from scaling up a lot faster? Now, if we like what we hear and we feel like we can help, then we'll invite you into a longer conversation with one of our senior advisors for something we call the KPI Scale Up. That's where we put a game plan together in terms of how to execute on it. But in the meantime, if you're curious, if you feel like you're standing on a mountain of untapped value, then can I encourage you, do the KPI diagnostic. It takes us 10 minutes. It's with one of our really qualified team, and they're going to take you through a bunch of questions that can help you get a better understanding and a better grip on what your business needs to go to the next level. So you'll see with this video, you'll see on this page, there's a link, there's a form, fill in that form, give us a little bit of info, book into the calendar with one of our team, and we will look forward to seeing you on the other side.